We are going to finish up this afternoon with a fireside chat with the Googlers. Let me have Amit come out, and Michelle, and Jonathan. There they all are. There's Amit, who you heard from earlier, Michelle, and there. Oh no, go ahead, Steve. Oh my goodness,
okay,
I'm catching up.
I like your socks.
Thank you very much, yeah. I didn't really think that I was going to be sitting down and would be showing them off quite so much, yeah, but oh, there you go. Amit, let's start with you. You know, sometimes people think Google, a big company, it's growing bigger every time, and even federal agencies, oh my God, am I going to be just lost in, you have purple socks on, for goodness sakes.
Oh, yeah, you just
I think that they'll be lost in this big corporate, and what happens if they decide to, you know, privacy stuff. How do you deal with those kinds of questions as they come at you?
Sure. First of all, Googlers in the audience, just please raise your hand, federal Googlers. So we have a dedicated team of 25, 30 people who are located here and then around for state and local that just deal with those questions every day. So we have direct input coming from clients. We have, at the same time in the back end, 24/7 support capability that we've built out for businesses and governments that is available anytime you just want. You just call that number and a Google person will help you solve those problems. So we've recognized these issues that people want to understand, learn about the products, and we've built out a team. We also do a lot with these kinds of events and take them on the road. So because this is really a transformation. Things are changing in technology and we want to come out and educate people about it. Most importantly, it's the products. We are investing very heavily in making the products better every day, both from the feature set perspective. Somebody mentioned using Hangouts. We've been using Hangouts at Google now for about a year. I mean, it's transformed how we collaborate, bringing both that, but also things like the ISO 27001 and FISMA certification and GovCloud and things that I know you care about, you and your constituents care about. We've been investing in all those fronts.
How much does the enterprise part of Google matter? Because it is a big company.
Yeah. I hope it matters. I mean, I moved my family from Boston. So I can assure you when I met Larry and Patrick and Nikesh, I had some of the same questions. I think the way to think about it is Google is at its core a technology company. For consumers, we go through advertising for monetization opportunities for search. For enterprises, we've tried to create a flat and fair scheme which is really low cost, at least relative to your other options. And that is literally one of the fastest growing revenue streams inside of Google. Just to give you a sense, advertising is a $700 billion market in general. IT is twice that size. And we use the same assets, the same technology stack with the additional capability that I described to you when I presented. So it makes complete logic, makes logical sense for us.
Michelle, you joined Google after a long government career. And having been on both sides now, are there perceptions that you had then that you don't have now, or vice versa?
I can say I've always been a big fan of Google and was one of those people who liked to sign up for the beta testing when it came out for the general population. And I think for me, being at Google, it's reaffirmed the culture that you hear about, the innovation and the very open collaboration. And in my time in government, I served in a lot of roles trying to help agencies affect change, helping people be more innovative, stand up new capabilities. And so many times you need the tools. I talk about three areas that really can be barriers to innovation. And you have culture, and you have policies and technology. And technology can be the easy part, but it's a culture that's resistant to change, that refuses to change the policy to allow the adoption of that technology. And so then they're not able to transform those business processes. So for me, a compelling move to Google was to try to help from the other side government transform its business and do it across the federal government as a whole, having spent most of my career in the national security community. But I would also say too, for security, that's very important to government, and we talk about that a lot, but Google has a top-notch team, and you have to believe, I like to say in the Intel speak, is that sources and methods is the intelligence community what intellectual property is to Google. And you got to believe that that's a hot item to others. They would like to have that kind of IP. And so we're protecting our intellectual property, but that same security A team is protecting your private Gmail and your enterprise suite. So that's something that's been reaffirmed to me coming to Google, is that we have a top-notch team as well as great capabilities.
I know that a lot of the CIO for the CIA is out there talking a lot about using the cloud and the capabilities that it gives them. And I've heard of a lot of CIOs say, well, if the CIO for the CIA thinks it's okay, then it's okay for us. That must help you. There was a question in there somewhere.
Well, there's a few key players that you think if they make the leap, others will follow.
Yeah.
And CIA has unique requirements, and NSA, of course, is who we turn to in the government for a lot of the technical expertise on the security side. But one question I've asked more and more to the government customers is really think, do you need classified or do you need secure? And if you're working stability operations, as I was doing right before I left Google, working on a task force supporting the Secretary of Defense, we really needed secure, unclassed, non-class information sharing. It was actually people working at the higher level networks and not having an ability to collaborate at the lowest common denominator that was impeding our ability to do more robust information sharing and collaboration. And this wasn't just with the US government, it was with our Commonwealth, with NATO, coalition partners, whatever the coalition of the day was, and your local citizens, private volunteers, non-government organizations. And we lacked the kind of capabilities that you see demonstrated here today. And I saw that a robust suite like Google Apps, Google Sites, and integrating the geo would make a huge difference in the success of stability operations, really providing that unity of effort without unity of command.
One of my unknown skills is I am actually a mind reader, and as you were going through your list of 3 things, technology and culture, and what was the third one?
Policy.
Policy. I heard a lot of folks out there going, yeah, check, check, check. But it feels like, and we talked to Casey Coleman about this earlier, when you empower folks, all of a sudden they're actually pushing you to do more and be more innovative, and it does change the culture to a large degree. Again, there was a question in there somewhere.
But I'll describe a model. We have some hardware devices over there in a corporate culture where you had kind of the genius at the top really driving people in a certain direction and being hands-on and how we develop that technology. Our co-founders and chairmen set a great corporate core values and direction and simplicity, but you have an opportunity as well within Google. There's a lot of that bottoms-up development. And in the tools that we've developed that we're now rolling out to the enterprise are tools that were developed in-house to help facilitate that same collaboration and information sharing. And so you see the very tools that we developed to help us be that innovative company, the great reputation, are the same capabilities that we've realized that would provide value to our customer base.
Jonathan, playing on that question of if you give them the tools, people will do it, you must see that a lot.
Yeah, we do. And it's funny, I'm sure you've seen it today. I kind of smile every time I hear the word spreadsheet, because I think spreadsheet for us has taken on different meaning than it used to mean. It's much more, like I think I said earlier, it's a canvas for information sharing that's just logical for people. It's easy for them to create things that are relevant to them and their team, very relevant, and not just, okay, I have columns and rows, but they wire to it. If you listen to James Ferreira, he's used AppScript, and so many other people have, to then wire to it some intelligence. Simple intelligence, really simple, but it improves productivity to the next level, which is customized to your environment, to your project. There's like a little task you need to get done, or that takes you days, today. And now you've got this little wiring that now takes you minutes. And I'll give you just an example that I use every day. And this is the other point I think you made about, who do you wait to use this product or this set of apps before you go, like what's the the domino. And I always tell people, we keep our information. Google is using these products across the board in the same product that you are, again, except for GovCloud where it's literally different, but it's the same product. And for us, all our data is there. And when you think about the kinds of things that are important to us, that's critical. But back to the wiring, I actually have a process, very simplistic, but takes forever and very imperfect, of collecting what's, I try to provide roadmap data. And I'm sure a lot of you will smirk at that because we have a hard time sometimes giving good roadmap data, but we're trying. And one of those things I have, since we have many products and many product managers, is I just ask them to keep simple information about what's coming. Little things and big, and we call epic things. So Drive would be considered epic, something like that. So I used to have to go around and collect, and a lot of manual effort. It was really hard and totally imperfect, and I would get pings all the time. Marketing, legal, audit, operations, sales. When is this coming? What's coming next week? What's coming in 2 weeks? And we put together a simplistic script. It was probably 25 lines of code that I was able to write. And I haven't written code maybe since I wrote Lisp. You talk about Lisp. I was probably the only person that really wrote Lisp. And it just every Monday collects that data, sends it out to everyone that has those spreadsheets. It pulls it from 15 different spreadsheets and sends it back to them and says, this is what's going to be provided to everyone at Google to talk to our customers and internally. And you have 24 hours to fix your data. And Tuesday, the note goes out automated to everyone. And it just created a system where I guess I could actually take Mondays off now. But it really just, the productivity, that's a very
the Google
small,
20% rule.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a very small sample. What we see customers doing with this just goes, there's thousands of use cases. And it's simplistic, but it does empower everyone.
Amit, the gentleman over here asked about security, and we keep hearing that. Is that still the biggest hurdle that you face when talking about cloud?
It's one of them. The intensity and the priority of that has actually gone down. I can just tell you my own experience and what the questions come to our team. Other questions like, okay, how do we do this? How does it integrate with my current infrastructure? How do we actually get started? Are now right up there alongside, or maybe slightly ahead of security, depending on the industry. I suspect, and in government, it's high up on that list. In other industries like retail, et cetera, it's a whatever, We have enough incredibly large customers who've already moved, so they have stopped doubting. And then most people will say, I think you probably are more secure than we are. In most cases, that's actually true. If you look at end device security and what policies people have, frankly, our security infrastructure is really top notch, as Michelle has mentioned.
Well, let me let them have at you.
Yeah.
What questions do you guys have for, yeah, right up here. He's coming back. Well, he's sort of sauntering, isn't he?
Michelle, in your opening comment, you talked about the cultural aspects of this, and I no doubt that in your time in government, you'd walk into some command center and you'd see a bunch of 20-somethings with about 15 different chat windows open in front of them. And I compare that to the demo that you gave, Jonathan, where you're using Hangout in a very dynamic way, in a way that's truly a modern command and control tool. But what do you think the tipping point is within government, DoD in particular perhaps, that you get away from a very one-dimensional collaboration tool like chat to something that's much more dynamic?
I think the key is getting that capability out there on the network. I know in a past role when I was Deputy CIO for the Intel community for the first Director of National Intelligence, we were looking at, okay, we have the charter to integrate the community. And if we could roll out not just the chat tools that everybody's enjoying, but that ability to instantly connect. And we got into debates about quality of the video, and was it good enough for the directors and all of that. And I said, just the ability to connect from, just the slogan, any team, anytime, anywhere, any device. That would be so powerful. Just like we go email back and forth and you see somebody's presence and you ask them a quick question via chat so it gets you out to do an email. Now you just say, hey, dial you up or do a video con. I think just making it available on the network, people will just start to use it and you start to get that tipping point.
And it's the risk aversion. People are so worried about, and DoD is a unique situation because you oftentimes have people's lives on the line, but there's a lot of agencies where that's not the case, and still, so.
And I think it's
struck.
important too, is we roll out pilots, so sometimes people say, I'll take 2 people from this group and 2 people from this group.
Right.
You have to find groups that already need to collaborate.
You know,
they desperately need to collaborate, and then you say, have I got the tool for you?
Right.
And they become your advocates and help with that tipping point.
I was with the CIO of the British government, and they are trying to convince us to sort of join the G Cloud initiative, which is, you know, their own version. And we were like, okay, you know, we'll look at it. There's different levels of accreditation, CLE3 and 2 and 1, whatever. Anyway, and I was like, look, how secure are you guys now? Tell me about your own use case. He said, do you use Gmail? I said, tell me the truth. I can go check. I said, yeah, I do. So why do you use it? He says, because it's so locked down, I can't get my work done. I got to respond when I'm at home. So I just forward my stuff to Gmail. I know it's not correct. I'm like, you're the CIO of the British government. And this is happening inside your entire enterprise. Now, you may not like it, you may not believe it, but trust me, Dropbox, use in government, storing things, forwarding things, personal accounts, video, all of that is occurring. And our view is, why not bring it in a controlled manner with the kinds of things that we provide? And I think many people are waking up to that as an option.
And I think to play on that, the YouGov initiative we tried to do when I was in government was the idea of, we knew everybody was using Gmail and their personal accounts out in the field to get things done. So you say, why not give them those same capabilities they desperately want, but do it in a government certified environment? And that was the whole drive for Google's GovCloud. So now you have the opportunity to do that.
Did you have something to add?
I was just going to say, we've seen the same thing with, you know, again, you asked the question, have we seen security questions drop off or wane? And I definitely have. And one of the things that triggers that, I think, is the awareness of how attachments today are being used when you don't use the cloud. People don't know that they're so insecure when you have attachments and you go to just view it. It is downloaded to your machine, and it's, you know, a lot of you, of course, know that. But I always compel people to go look at the download directory of any machine in your network. Just look at the download directory and tell me if there's something there that shouldn't be there, that you don't expect to be there. And it's shocking. So just using the core tools, I think, is the first step. And then, like Amit said, when you bring the other things in and say, let's put controls around this, it's just so much more powerful and secure. It seems like an easy win, but the security questions just go way down.
I think Eric hit on too, I would just say, is having your data in the cloud and being able to do the logs, and Google's a data-driven company. You start to know what normal looks like, and you start to see those anomalies. Think of the compromise we had of information had we been doing really good audit logs, and you could see somebody doing massive downloads and maybe send off some warning signals before it hits the press. By being able to bring your data into the cloud, you have the ability to do that kind of audit capability and provide better security than you do today with the separate air-gap systems.
Right. And customize your own. I mean, the APIs and AppScript and things like that let you do your own if you don't like what we provide.
Awesome. Other questions? Anybody else? Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I got lots of questions. I could take over the whole thing. This question is about doing the change management. So I'm from the DoD, obviously, and many people justify their job by what they do and their location in the hierarchy. We are very deep. We're not flat like Google. We're very deep organization, hierarchy. And I have people in my own section that nobody can look to see where I'm from. I have people in my own section that think that if we were to go to a cloud like this, that they would lose their job. And so how, I'm asking you for your advice on your experience as you've dealt with organizations
Sure.
that might be similar to mine, that to me it's somewhat obvious. Hey, guy, we're going to give you a different job because now it's not the CIO that is handing out computers. It's this chief business process officer making sure that we are doing correct business processes, and you'll help with that.
Can I ask?
I can't seem to get that through people's heads. So
can I ask
get
you
some
a
advice?
question?
Sure.
How much is budget end up driving? We'll call you John. How much? How much does?
My name's Stuart Lyles. I'm okay with being.
How much does budget end up driving those? Almost forcing those to happen, forcing the questions. Okay, we just can't keep doing everything we were doing before. Does that even come into the discussion?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're hitting on a big point as far for my own experience that I'm having, you know, with the job I'm in now, but they've cut my budget so much, I'm the CIO, that they can't cut it anymore. I need all the people that they have, even if I were to do, if they let me change over all the way to Google or whatever, some cloud provider. So I'm really more interested in the cultural change and how to make that.
I can certainly take, you know, just from customers, and you should talk to them. It's like what ends up happening is the role changes. Yeah. It becomes more about service delivery than about assets. If you know, the asset management, and I mean, there is no joy in running email systems. Trust me, we run them, they are very hard to run. And you know, over time, there's also not much skill set that these people are building for their careers. I mean, think about it. Would you rather be working on new, sexy cloud stuff where you can create great innovation? And that's the word that's actually coming back a lot for CIOs. They're becoming innovation officers as they're saying, I'm not going to be asset-centric. I'm going to be outcome and service delivery-centric. And they've changed their titles, actually, to reflect that. And then you bring the best technology and kind of make it outcome-based, and then start to focus on the user. You know, what are they able to do? How do we get them more stuff? And the dynamic changes. The dynamic inside this organization changes from, you know, we are the protectors of data to we are the enablers to make you incredibly, you know, much more productive. That's what I've seen happen in organizations that have deployed.
And Michelle, we've been talking for years about the role of the CIO in government. If some organizations, if they don't stay ahead of this, all of a sudden the CIO won't matter anymore.
Well, the current standard business model for government IT is definitely not sustainable, and our budget cuts are forcing people to make some, you know, tough choices. But another thing you hit on is cyber is a buzzword as well. And so you look at, I know it's sitting with a room full of people in a different uniform than you, is somebody who had to roll out the IT, but then another person responsible for, I have to find personnel that I can train in cybersecurity. And so if we can offload some of the folks worrying about assets tracking and migrate them over and retrain them in a field that has become critical, that's great value added. And so I think actually outsourcing a capability that is not unique to the government mission to someone for whom cybersecurity is a core competency, then the people can be retrained in a field that is critical to the current government mission.
And I have just one idea for how you might go about doing this, which I think is part of the process, which, you know, so you can plan ahead, is almost take an inventory of the things you know. Maybe cybersecurity is one of the obvious ones where we need more people, and we know we can't get them, but we need. And then maybe a set of things that even people on the staff could dream and say, if you didn't have to do your current job, which you probably don't like, what would you think we should do? What do you think we could get done and add value to whatever, you know, our real mission is? Our real mission, not managing email. You know, what is the mission of the Department of Defense, and what can you do with technology? What would you like to do? And if you have that inventory, it starts feeling like people will be looking now for an opportunity to say, okay, now we can start getting rid of some of the drudgery that you've got in the technology, the asset management part of it. And I think people then get involved in trying to release themselves of their job and say, okay, I've got my eye set on that thing in your inventory. I love that project, you know, the geomapping stuff. And some of this stuff is actually attainable by non-technicians, so you don't even need somebody that technical. You know, the retraining is, feels sometimes with other technologies really impossible. Like people are like, I can't learn how to program in C. You know, all of a sudden I'm going to just shift and learn. No, you don't have to. Here's how you do it. It's 4 pages online of how you actually take terabytes of data and put it on a map. It's like, wow. Look how that'll help the Department of Defense. Like, it's an amazing thing. And I just think if you have that inventory ready for people, they're much more willing to give up their jobs and to say, yeah, let's start working on getting that stuff in so I can actually release myself of this. So that's just an idea.
The challenge, of course, is that anyone who's been in government more than 10 minutes knows that, you know, they always say we'll be able to reinvest those back into some kind of cool thing, and then that never happens. So that's part of the concern. Yeah. Right. Right.
Actually,
and particularly right now,
it's just a shift. I mean, that's why you kind of take it into your own hands and you say, okay, I need 10 people. You can't give them to me. I'm going to find them. I'm going to get productivity over here, push those 10 people over here.
We're out of time, and I'm going to give Amit the last word. What do you hope people walk out of here thinking, knowing? What should be their parting thought?
Google is serious about bringing great, beautiful consumer products with the right controls and features and capabilities for governments so that transformers like this can actually go and get great new outcomes for their constituents. That's our mission. And we hope that you'll try something. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be small. It is so easy to go do something and try and just get a feeling for what it's like. And we really would like to help you. So thank you for coming.
I think, thank you very much. I think it is amazing times that we live in, and I started off saying the best of times, worst of times, and we all know what the worst of times are. But I think what Amy said earlier, where she almost poo-pooed a lot of the changes that they're making as small, I don't think there are small changes, particularly in the work environment that you're in every day. Go out and do it. You know you can. Thank you very much for doing this.